Well, I'm in the mood to talk about action, so we're doing a tier list for both Mission Impossible and John Wick. So grab your popcorn and sit down because we're about to have a lot of fun with this. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ledger. So glad to see that you tuned in. So we're ranking the two Mount Rushmores when it comes to action franchises: John Wick and Mission Impossible. And this is going to be really fun because I love these. These are both top three franchises in my opinion. So this is gonna be really fun to rank. I debated whether or not I should add Rambo in here. I decided not to simply because I decided that that would already be three franchises in something that I'm doing a big ranking for the genre challengers. I need to not spoil too much. And so but first up we have Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. And I need to introduce these first. The tiers we have are fantastic, great, good, okay, met, and bad. And if I'm thinking Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, simply put with these films on here and just of how amazing, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the great tier because I love this movie. I think of the I think that I do think there's a few little nitpicks I have with this, but that's not to say I don't like it. I love this film. It is fantastic. Just the way that the director is shooting all these action sequences, the way Tom Cruise is constantly putting his life at risk, and like the amazing opening scene with the plane is fantastic. The water scene with him underwater is a lot of people's favorite scene in the entire movie, and it's just so awesome the way they frame it and all sorts of these amazing things that Tom Cruise is just completely committing. And I absolutely love this. And this is just such a fantastic movie that I really do enjoy. So I am easily putting it in a great. Next up, we have the OG Mission Impossible, the original. Simply put, I'm basically putting these on tiers based on the films in this franchise. Because if I was basing them based on my actual opinion, they pretty much nearly all of them being great. So for the original Mission Impossible, based on this tier, I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in the good tier. I do think there's some things wrong with it. Like the third act, there's some CGI problems that feel very 90s, and simply I don't like the direction they go with some of the stuff in here. I'm not the biggest fan of the villain reveal. It always felt a bit weird and not very smart. And also, apparently, I haven't watched the show, but I hear that to fans of the show, it is sacrilege for a lot of people. So I get a lot of people are not happy with the direction they went in with the show, but I do still really enjoy this movie. This is a really good movie, a really, really solid action movie from the 90s. And I'm sad having to put it in just the good tier, but I'm basing these off from their respective tiers for like how I like since all the movies in this franchise compared to the rest, I'm gonna put it in the good tier. But next up, we have the first film for the Baba Yaga. We have John Wick, the OG. And I think we all know where I'm putting this one. I'm putting this one in great. I will go ahead of Rogue Nation for this one because I do like it a bit more than Rogue Nation. And I just love this movie. Much more gory than Mission Impossible by a landslide. Much more swearing and just so entertaining, and the action in this film is top notch, especially like the house scene, perfection. The scene in that like strip club or whatever they are, and it's in some sort of club, and John is apparently really angry because, well, he has a right to be, and he's just mauling down people and going absolutely nuts and just is absolutely going full on monster. So it is awesome, and this is just such a fantastic movie, and I just always have loved this movie. And Keanu Reeves, fantastic in this role. This is like his defining role. Maybe Neo and John Wick are his two most famous roles, along with I think it's Jack Traven. I think it's Jack Traven from Speed. By the way, if you have not checked out Speed, check it out. It's really good. Not John Wick level or The Matrix level, but really, really good movie. And I just really enjoy this movie, so I'm easily putting it in great tier. But now we have Mission Impossible 2. I'm going to put this one in the okay tier. I don't think it's a bad movie. I know a lot of people think it's a really bad movie. I just think that there's some dated stuff about it. It feels very dated. I think it's corny at times. It's too cheesy. And it feels like it's partially trying to be a James Bond movie where Ethan's now almost like this womanizer. He's going to like this exotic location, and it feels episodic partially where he's having to first assemble some stuff, then he has to actually go off. It feels very reminiscent of a Bond film, and that's not really what I come for with the Mission Impossible films. Like, there's some really good stuff in here. Like, the scene in particular with Ethan Hunt in the eye, that's a top 5 probably. Actually, no, not top 5 when you have all the death-defying stuff Cruise keeps doing. Top 10 stunt where he just has the eye within literally like an inch to half an inch of his eyeball. And it is awesome the way that Cruise was willing to do that. And you don't seem to realize if they had gotten the calculations wrong, if this cable had stretched, and if Tom Cruise had done something wrong, if they had done something bad, Tom Cruise would have lost his eye, or worse. And it is just such a fantastic way they do that stunt. And do I think it's a great movie? By no means is it a great movie. But is it a bad movie? No, I still really enjoy this movie. But next up we have John Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum. And I know a lot of people are mixed on this one. It's either one that you would say is fantastic and say it's the best in the franchise, or you're someone that says it's the worst in this franchise. For me, I am biased against all the John Wick films, so I think at the moment I'm going to put this one in great. I do think there's some stuff wrong with it. I'll go behind Rogue Nation and John Wick. But I get that a lot of people don't care for this film or just say it's the best in the franchise. It's my least favorite in the franchise, but to be fair, this is John Wick. This guy is like the greatest franchise of all time. And I just absolutely love the way that they have the action. This is one of those movies that if you're not needing too much story, you just want some action, this is completely your cup of tea. It is all killer, no filler. Like, you're just you don't get to even breathe in this film for like the first 30 minutes. Like, it's awesome the way for the first 30 minutes it's just action scene after action scene. You get several memorable moments. You get to see John kill someone with a book. Man, I mean, a book seriously is cool. He like snaps a guy's neck with it. He does this really cool thing in a knife shop, and it's very brutal in the way that he does it. This is probably the most brutal John Wick movie. It's between this one and Chapter 2. Probably this one, though. But I absolutely love this film. I cannot get over it. It is just absolutely awesome. And if I'm judging this based on the ones I have here, I'm probably going to say it is one of the greatest it's definitely in the bottom ones of the ones we have in this list, but to be fair, this is a great set of movies in a franchise. So I just love the way that they have this, and just one of the reasons I'm not putting it higher, like saying it, because if just so you know, all the John Wick films are interchangeable. Like, if my ranking when I do the genre challengers is a bit different, that's because I keep in mind I'm watching a lot of action movies, and the original film is not as action-packed as some of the others, so if I have the original film in last place or close to it, keep in mind I'm an action guy, so it may be because I have been going through like 30 action films and I need some more action, so sorry about that, but there's just so much action in here, and the reason I won't put it higher than any of the other films is I think there's some plot holes. Like, the fact is, like, that how John has to go into the desert and has to just keep walking until he passes out. There's some coincidences in that. There's also the story's not as prominent in this one as the others. It's not prominent in too many of the John Wick films. You don't go to a John Wick film for story. You go for it for awesome action. So I do really enjoy this movie. And also there's a scene where John gets shot in the chest. To be fair, I'm not gonna crack on that. He had a bulletproof suit on. So, but then he jumps off of a building, hits his back, then hits his back again on a pole, hits his head, and then goes off of a building that was like 30 stories high. There is no way he would survive that. But I do really, really enjoy this movie. So I know I'm biased, but I'm going to have to keep it in grade. So sorry. But now we have Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Again, great. This I'm gonna go over John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum and over Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, and I may edit this list a bit more later. I don't know. Mission Impossible 2 could also move to meh, and Ghost Protocol could move over John Wick. I'm actually gonna I think I'm gonna switch John Wick and Ghost Protocol simply because I just think that Ghost Protocol is so fun and rewatchable. It's the most rewatchable film in this franchise. So this could switch easily later. I could switch this. So I'm gonna keep this like this for now. But Ghost Protocol is just so fun. This is probably my favorite version of the team, and just the way that they have all this stuff. Like Ethan is so fun in this movie, and it has this really good tension and all of this really fun stuff. So it has a lot of good serious moments and action moments. But it manages to keep itself with some lighthearted, funny moments that I think are really funny. That they're not like completely jokes that don't land. They're like subtle little comedy jokes that you have to be paying attention to notice that are actually really funny. In the Burj Khalifa scene, amazing at crafting tension. So it is just fantastic at crafting all this tension. And I do love this film. It's a film that I can easily rewatch. Like I said, it might be the most rewatchable film on this list. It's just so rewatchable. There's a reason that before I finished Fallout, this was my favorite Mission Impossible movie, and I even said at the way Fallout's going, I'm thinking this. No disrespect to Fallout, I love it, but this one looks like it's gonna be the best. And based on, if you have not seen any of my rankings or reviews, and if you're new here, you will find out where Fallout's going later. But I do really, really enjoy this film. But next up, we've got a fantastic film. John Wick Chapter 4, like I just said, this is going in fantastic. The first addition to the fantastic thing. This is awesome. Awesome. Just all, like, the action here is superb. And it's like, this is like a 2 hour and like 54, like, it's like a no, it's like 2 hours and 49 minutes. It's nearly 3 hours long. And, oh, this film is awesome. And this is one of two great films in this franchise. This is one of two films from both of these franchises, because this and Dead Reckoning Part 1 both came out this year and are both really good films. So John Wick Chapter 4, I love the additions of the new characters, and it's fun to see them interact with John Wick, and just the way that they can play off each other, or the way that they always are doing all these really fun things. Like it has the John Wick franchise is known to, it's very serious because it has a lot of really gory action, but if you're paying attention, you'll notice there's actually some pretty funny scenes in this. Like, you have to be paying attention, and they're not like fully in your face comedy moments, but they are moments that will stick out to you and are like, that is actually really funny. So I just love this film, and there's actually this really funny joke that they make when John asks who plays in the Matrix again. I can't remember his name at the moment. Hopefully it'll come to me. But yeah, he says, "Where did you get this gun?" And then the Marquis. No, is it the Marquis? I think so. Yeah, the Marquis. I think I may be wrong. I may have just embarrassed myself, but hopefully it is. But no, that's wrong. Not the Marquis. But anyway, he says, "Where'd you get this gun?" And then he says, "I know a guy who knows a guy who shot a guy." And it's a really funny comedy moment, but it happens a lot in this franchise. Like, they have little comedy moments, like, and if you're paying attention, you will agree with me and know they do this a lot, and it's just so fun the way that they frame all the action, and you're constantly wondering, how did they do this? Because you know that they do not actually run over Keanu Reeves with a car, but there's a scene where John Wick actually like gets run over, but you're like, how did they do this? Because there's no puppetry working, like, you're wondering, how did they do this? The action is just so fantastic in this movie. So it is a great action movie. One of the greatest action movies I've ever seen. And quite frankly, possibly one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. It is a fantastic movie, so it is easily going in the fantastic tier. And next up, we have Mission Impossible 3. Okay. Based on the tiers we have, based on the movies we have here, I'm going to go and put this one in the good tier as well. I will go over the original film, though. Because the Mission Impossible is one of the few franchises where pretty much every sequel, except for 2, pretty much just gets better than the original. It is just so flawless as a franchise. Well, almost. 2 kind of in terms of that stuff, but I will argue, of all the films on this list, Mission Impossible 3 may have the best villain. Philip Seymour Hoffman is a fantastic actor. He is just so good at committing, and he's just so dark and someone who does not play games. He is not one of those like Heath Ledger Joker, someone who's really good at not being too serious at times. Like there's a scene in the movie where he's not always the most serious guy, but this is not Philip Seymour Hoffman's villain is enormously dark and will kill anyone who gets in his way. So he's a dark person. Oh, I love this. I just love how they frame the action. This is more of the action type one. You didn't really get to start seeing that until the second one, and it was only prominent in the back half. This one, it's fully in the bridge scene is fantastic. I just love the scene where where Ethan gets thrown into the car during the explosion. I showed that clip when I ranked. When I reviewed Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Go check that out if you have not already. But it's just a fantastic film, but if I'm measuring it based on here, I also can realize that it's not the I think it's the lowest grossing of all of the Mission Impossible movies, because this was the couch jumping era of Tom Cruise. But to be fair, lowest grossing is not saying much for the Mission Impossible era, because the lowest grossing either has 400 million or 500 million, which is quite a lot, which is very impressive. And now we have Mission Impossible Fallout. Oh, I think I'm going in fantastic, but I'm wondering, should I put this over John Wick Chapter 4? I think at the moment I prefer John Wick Chapter 4, so I'm going to go back of fantastic. So I love this film as well. You're getting a lot of I love this film as well, because this is a fantastic franchise. Just fantastic. And this is one of my favorites in the franchise. And Henry Cavill Henry Cavill. I don't know how to pronounce it. Why do so many actors in the DCEU have such horrible names to pronounce? Gal Gadot. What is it? I just guess I just have to pretend I'm dumb. Then people will be like, you know what? I'm just done. He's dumb. So hopefully I'm not going to get corrected by that, or I probably am. But either way, I just love the action in this film. You get to see Tom Cruise literally jump out of an airplane, and he does this in real life. He jumps out of a building, and if you are a behind the scenes nerd for Mission Impossible, you will know when he jumped out of it the first time, he broke his ankle. So that's actually really cool to know that Tom Cruise is willing to break his bones for us. That is how awesome he knows. That's because he knows that he's awesome. And he's awesome, and he does all sorts of really cool stuff. And just the way that he climbs his helicopter, it's so fantastic the way that they frame the action. And I just love the bathroom fight scene. Probably my favorite scene in the entire movie, and one of my favorite scenes in the entire franchise. It's just the way that they're having hand-to-hand combat. I just love hand-to-hand combat scenes in movies, and I love the way they incorporate this in this. Oh, I could talk about all these movies, except for probably 2, forever. I love them, and having to put them against each other in a fight like this is brutal, but I have to be true to myself. But I am going to say easily this is one of the easiest decisions, but putting it in fantastic is one of the easiest decisions. But putting it behind John Wick Chapter 4, I probably should not have done it. It is probably a more well-made film than John Wick Chapter 4, but I just think that John Wick Chapter 4 is probably better action because John Wick is just a more action-packed franchise than Mission Impossible because keep in mind, the original film is not much of an actual action film. It's more of a spy espionage film. You don't really get to see that until the back half of 2 for action, and then you really get it in 3. So John Wick is just more of a action franchise. But now we're going to John Wick Chapter 2, the final John Wick film on this list. Okay, I'm going to make 2 adjustments real quick. I'm going to put John Wick at the top of great, and I will put John Wick Chapter 2 right behind Ghost Protocol. But believe me, this is just such a fantastic franchise and just such a great list of movies, which I'm too picky over. I can't stop this. And I know John Wick Chapter 2 is a fantastic movie. I get it. And I know a lot of people prefer this to the original film. And if you say that, I am going to say I can understand why. I can understand why you have any of these films in first place. That's because they're just all so good. And the editing that they use in this movie is fantastic. I love the way that I like that it ends on a cliffhanger. 3, it kind of ends on a cliffhanger that kind of sours you because you're like, seriously? Because it's such a big cliffhanger. But I just love the way that they incorporate all these fantastic action scenes. And it also manages to point fingers back to things like, if you're listening in the original film, they mentioned several times that John Wick once killed a 3-minute bar with a pencil. So but this film, you actually get to see him kill 2 people with a pencil. So you get to see him do his famous pencil kill. Of all the films in this franchise, that has the coolest death, in my opinion. Which, if you're going for a cool death, you're usually going to go to John Wick, not Mission Impossible, because John Wick just has the guts to show the death. But just the way that they use the pencil to do it, and it is gory and graphic, and it has probably the least amount of plot of any of these films. But to be fair, like I said, I don't go to a John Wick film expecting like a Oscar-worthy plot. I expect fantastic action and just a great way to justify all this great action happening, and you just get a lot of really good characters. I just love Winston and who's the guy who has that African accent, who always helps him out. He died this year. I'm so sad that he died this year. That might have been why they killed him off in the 4th movie, because he died. Or he was dying. I have no idea why they killed him. Or they just really dodged a bullet there, because that would have been really hard to explain why he's not in there. But it's just a really, really, really great movie, so I am comfortable putting it in the great tier. But now we have the new dog in town, the newest of any of these films, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. I just reviewed this movie yesterday, and I think I ranked it the day before yesterday, so go check that out. I think I ranked it a few days ago, yeah. But make sure to check out my review and ranking of these films, and I'm going to put this in the fantastic tier. I love this movie. It's just a movie that has all sorts of fantastic action, and at the moment I'm going to go back of fantastic. I would still probably say I would keep John Wick Chapter 4 and Fallout more than this, but I love the way that they have action in this one, but it has the world building and the tension and the seriousness of Fallout and Rogue Nation, but it has the levity and it also has the humor of Ghost Protocol, which is a fantastic match, and just the way that they have that done, and this is one of those films that actually manages to keep the balance perfect. There's a really funny scene in an airport with Benji and Luthor, which is hilarious. And I do think that there's some things like, there's a bit of an exposition dump that goes along in the film. And there is it does feel like it's starting to go a bit too overboard at times. It's not often. I still think it's basically a flawless film. It's my second favorite film of the year, as you can already tell, which is number 1. But I love this film. And I also like the way that you've gotten 3 cliffhanger Part 1s this year. You've gotten Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, Fast X, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And this is the only one of these movies that actually manages to give an ending that I liked. I did not see Fast X, but I know the ending, and I already don't like the ending, so There's an ending in Across the Spider-Verse and Fast X. I haven't seen Fast X, but I know the ending is where they just give one of the worst cliffhangers of all time, and it's so unsatisfying because, like, especially Across the Spider-Verse, it just leaves you in it, like, what, I need to finish, you at least need to give me some closure. I had no idea how they were going to give closure to this ending, and I watched this film and I'm like, wow, they really do give closure in this. It's not actually a cliffhanger, it's more of a conclusion and a built up to a part 2 that is eventually coming. It's not trying to be a cliffhanger, it's trying to be a resolution and more of a build up. It's more trying to build up how the tension for part 2, and it did that well. The characters are fantastic, and there's a death in here that I'm mixed on, that as soon as I see part 2, I will determine whether I'm going to be putting this in the good tier or the bad tier for that on whether that the death that they have in this movie, if they retcon it by saying that the person survives, or if they actually do say that she does die, because if so, I don't know if I'm keeping this. I don't know if that will be put in bad tier or good tier, but I do love this movie. I am a fanatic for Mission Impossible, and this is easily one of the best films I have just put on this tier list. So thank you all so much for watching this tier list. Remember to like and subscribe if you're not already. If you enjoyed this tier list that I just did, make sure to like and subscribe, and also make sure that you watch these films. Why are you still watching me? Take a look at these films. They are all awesome. I would recommend every single one of these films every day, including 2. I would recommend you watch as a fan of the franchise of Mission Impossible. And if you comment down below, do you want me to do more tier lists like this? Because if so, if you say yes, I want some more tier lists, I will actually start having like little days where if I feel like it, I will have a certain person every like week or month, or well, every few weeks, or I would probably say every 2 weeks. On like a Saturday or something, I will do a tier list of your choice if I have seen the movies. If so, then if I feel like it, if you guys say yes, I will try and do that. So let me know down below, do you want me to do this? And thank you all so much for watching, and have a good one.